Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and I am so glad and pleased and humbled and honored that you would make this show a part of your day. This is how today's show is going to go, of course. I'm going to start off with something going on in the world of movie news that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to go and take the questions that you guys have sent in to me. Now, there's been a change. As I said earlier in this week, I was going to be changing the email address, and we have now changed the email address. So from now on, if you want to get a question on the John Campea Show, here's what you got to do. You have to email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. And here's a really important part, guys. You have to put topic in the subject line. If you don't put topic in the subject line, then I will not see your email and I won't even pay attention to it because I won't think it's something for the show. So make sure you put that in there. Now, if you want to send in a question specifically for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays, then it's almost the same thing. You write to john@thejohncampeashow.com, but put SWTT in the subject line. So, once again, if you're sending it in for the John Campea Show, put topic in the subject line. If you're sending it in for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays, put SWTT in the subject line. Now, once I get through the emails here that you guys have sent in to me, I'm going to go to the live chat board, and there's already a whole bunch of you guys here in the live chat talking away. I'm going to save some time at the end of the show to take some of your live questions and topics you want to send in. And here's how you send in a live topic or question for those of you who are watching live. Tweet to me at John Campea. So just start your tweet with at John Campea, send it off, and I'm going to try to rifle through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many Twitter questions I got time to get through. I will do my best to get those. Okay, so there was no John Campea show yesterday. I'm still saying John Campea podcast. There was no John Campea show yesterday. I tried to have one yesterday. What happened was, as many of you guys know, I've been working from Las Vegas this week, and I decided instead of doing Friday's show from Las Vegas, I thought I would leave early and get back home in time to do the show. Unfortunately, I had to pull off the road for a little bit. There was a major accident on the 210 and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I didn't get a chance to put up an episode yesterday. My apologies for that, but we are back and better than ever today. Okay, so with all that stuff out of the way, let's jump on to the first thing. And one of the movies that's been coming out that's a reboot, that has had a lot of us looking at, or a remake at any rate, has been the new film Flatliners. Of course, the Kiefer Sutherland one, a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of that. They're coming out with Flatliners. And I'll tell you right now, I thought the Flatliners trailers looked okay. I know there are a bunch of people that thought even the trailers for Flatliners looked horrible, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I actually thought the trailers for Flatliners looked all right. I honestly had no problem with them myself. I thought it looked perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with them. But the movie's now out. Now, because I've been in Vegas, I didn't get a chance to go see it. I'm going to go watch Flatliners, I think, later today. So hopefully later tonight I'll have my review for Flatliners up, because I know all of you are just, what's the review for Flatliners? I know you're all just dying for the Flatliners review. Anyway, I'm going to go try to see that today and maybe get a review up tonight. But the reviews are in, and the reviews are not good. As of this recording, Flatliners is one of those rare wide release films. By rare, I don't know that it's ever really happened, with a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, there's only about 30 reviews that have been counted so far. More will come in, and we'll probably see that number go up. I have a hard time imagining any film that gets a wide release is going to stay at 0, because all film is subjective. A movie's going to appeal to somebody. I mean, it's got to, right? But it's sitting at 0%. And this kind of highlights for me a couple things. Number one, apparently this movie was a bad idea. And maybe the trailers that I thought were okay are a little bit deceptive. Again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I haven't seen the movie yet. But it also kind of highlights for me why I so prefer the Rotten Tomatoes model than, say, like a Metacritic model, right? Because when I look at Rotten Tomatoes, or if you look at Metacritic, right, it might say 35%. It might say it has a 35 out of 100. Well, that tells you what the average score is, but it doesn't do anything to tell you, okay, but how many of the critics liked it? It doesn't tell you that. It honestly does not tell you how many of the critics liked it. All you got was the median score. And that doesn't, to me as a viewer, that doesn't mean anything. I want to know, Out of all the thousands of film critics who have wildly different tastes and wildly different preferences about their movies and who different movies appeal to them, out of all of them, what's the percentage of them that actually like the film as opposed to didn't like it? And I know right now that 0 critics liked Flatliners. A big 0. That means my chances of liking are probably pretty low. Because odds are, out of all those film critics, somebody shares my tastes. And if 0 liked it, then I got a pretty small chance of liking it. Anyway, but I'm curious, have any of you guys seen it? Did you get out and see it opening night? Because it hit theaters last night. I know some of you must have gone out to see it. What were your thoughts on Flatliners? Jump into the comment section and leave your thoughts. And how high do you think it'll go? Now, come on, I wouldn't put my money on it staying on 0. That's next to impossible. But how high do you think it could go? Could it go to 5%? Could it crack 10%? Could it get it to the 15 mark? Let me know what you think. Jump into the comment section and leave your thoughts. All right, guys, that's the only item out of movie news I wanted to pull out. I want to now get to your questions that you guys emailed in to me. So let's get to that right now. And the first question today comes to us from Lori Denise, who writes, "Hi, John. In a recent show, you said that there were very few sequels that you thought were as good or better than the original movie. I'm curious, what are your favorite sequels? And which do you think are as good or better than the original?" Okay, yeah, good question. We talked a little bit the other day about, why it's so difficult to make a good sequel. And what I said at the time was because it's extremely difficult just to make a good movie at all. And if you got lucky and made the first one good, you still got to get lucky again and make the second one good. Making a good movie that people enjoy and like is one of the hardest things to do. I think we as film fans take it for granted. We think, oh, it's just the easiest thing. Just make a good movie. They're all trying to make good movies. Believe me, they're trying. It's not easy. So very rarely do we get sequels that are as good or better than the original. It's one of the rarest films, actually. The film that is actually better than the original. Talking about sequels, right? Now, obviously, one of the big examples that a lot of people will go to is right beside me here, Empire Strikes Back. And one of the only really good things to come out of the special edition, I think, are the special edition posters. I love the special edition posters of New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. I think they're all great. Anyway, and then there are a few others. One that I always talk about, and people get really surprised, but is Rush Hour 2 with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Because Rush Hour 1 is such a throwaway movie. And then Rush Hour 2 comes out. And I still think Rush Hour 2 is fantastic. And I don't even like Chris Tucker. And I think he's great in that movie. I think the chemistry that Tucker and Jackie Chan have is really special in that movie. They just knew how to play off each other perfectly. And it's great. It's one of those rare examples of a sequel that's way better than the original. Another example of a sequel that is way better than the original, and also in the sci-fi genre, also has the word star in its title, and that's Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Because that first Star Trek movie, I know some diehard Trekkies really treasure that movie, and that's great. That's awesome. I find it to be a steaming pile of manure. I think that first movie is absolute trash, but I know a lot of people, it's a special place in their heart, and that's fine. That's great. I'm glad you like it. I think it's terrible. But then they did a sequel, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And it is one of the best. I mean, seriously, Wrath of Khan and Empire Strikes Back are fantastic examples. But Wrath of Khan is even more impressive, I think, than Empire Strikes Back. Because Empire Strikes Back was following up an amazing all-time pop culture, one of the greatest, most influential films of all time, Star Wars. Star Trek II came off a bad movie. And it killed it. And now Wrath of Khan is celebrated as one of the greatest sci-fi movies that sci-fi action adventure movies of all time. Ricardo Montalban. I mean, come on, man. It's Star Trek 2. But yeah, man, the sequel is a difficult animal to deal with and navigate. Another example, going back to the fan genres, is Dark Knight. Now, there are some people out there who prefer Batman Begins over Dark Knight. And again, totally fair. But I think you'd have to acknowledge that the vast majority of people out there think The Dark Knight was even a step up from Batman Begins. Dark Knight Rises is a step down, but Dark Knight was a step up from that. So there's another great example. I don't really count the Lord of the Rings films because they were all shot at one time anyway. So it's hard to count those as sequels per se. Proper definition, they are sequels. So, a lot of people prefer The Two Towers over Fellowship of the Ring. So that's another good one. But yeah, it's weird. Matrix 2 was not a sequel that was better than the original. But guys, jump into the into the comment section and leave your thoughts. What are some sequels that were better? When I say sequels, I don't mean fourth or fifth or sixth film in the franchise. I mean literally the sequel, the second film in the franchise where to you it was better than the original film, the first film of the franchise. Jump into the comments section and leave your thoughts. Anurag writes in the live chat board right now, another great example, X-Men 2. X-Men was great. X-Men 2, for a while, I think was the greatest comic book movie of all time. For a while. I mean, that got replaced by a few other films, but X-Men 2, incredibly special film. Very special movie, and in almost every way exceeded the original. So that's another good example. So yeah, guys, jump in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts. What are some films that the sequel surpassed the original? All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Thomas Peake. And Thomas Peake writes, "Hey, John, love the show. With Disney advertising the Blu-ray release of Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, as Jack Sparrow's final adventure, is that them putting the nail in the coffin for any more sequels? The film made nearly $800 million worldwide. That right there seems like it would warrant another sequel. Your thoughts?" Yeah, we talked a few weeks ago about the fact that, there's this perception that Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales was this big flop. Nothing could be further of the truth. Box office-wise, it's a smash hit. Not as big of a smash hit as the previous Pirates of the Caribbean films, which all joined the $1 billion club. But $800 million is nothing to sneeze at. That's insanely good. That's a huge profit margin for Disney. As much as they wanted, no, not necessarily, but a huge profit margin. Now, the film wasn't fantastic. The film wasn't great, but it made that money. But one of the things I said before was that, yes, by the financial books, you would think Pirates of the Caribbean, it would be a no-brainer. The most recent one made $800 million, no-brainer. You come back and you do another one, right? Obviously. Well, if Disney, one of the things I said before was that if Disney is sensing that the audience is beginning to tire of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and let's face it, they have not been good. I honestly think the only truly, really good one has been the first one. The first one was great. I haven't really liked any of them now. I did like Dead Men Tell No Tales. I think Dead Men Tell No Tales is the best Pirates of the Caribbean movie besides the first one. But even though I enjoyed it, it wasn't great. It wasn't awesome. And what I said before was that I think that if Disney suspects or starts to sense that the audience is losing patience with or growing tired of it, then they may not want to make another one. They might not want to put all their energy and effort into making another one and have even more diminishing returns. So that's something they got to look at too. However, I believe Disney has not decided yet. That's my belief. I believe that the real answer is that Disney hasn't decided yet if they're going to make another one or not. I think part of it will be, they also want to take into consideration how good it does on home video, although that's a minor consideration, but you never know. It might play a part in the decision-making process. But I think this whole thing for Captain Jack's final adventure, I think that's all just marketing. I really do. I think the truth is they haven't decided yet. And I think they're putting that in their marketing for the Blu-ray and home video just for the sake of marketing. Sail with Jack Sparrow one last time. Honestly, I think that's just a marketing shtick. That's a gimmick. I don't think they really know yet, but we're just going to have to sit around and wait and see. What do you guys think? Do you think that's it? Not whether you think they should be done with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. That's not the question. My question to you guys is, are they done with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? Do you think Disney is putting a bow on it? Do you think they're really serious when they say that was Captain Jack's last adventure? Do you think they haven't decided yet? Or do you think, oh yeah, they've decided they're going to do another one? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Matthew in Germany. And Matthew in Germany writes, Guten Tag Herr Campea. Well, Guten Tag, Matthew. In a new interview with Billboard Magazine, Danny Elfman shared that he'll be using John Williams' iconic Superman theme and possibly his Batman theme in Justice League. Do you think it's a good idea to resurrect these themes, or should they stick with the new Hans Zimmer thing? Okay, this is a big issue going around today because when I was in Vegas, I started seeing all these tweets about everything about the John Williams Superman theme is going to be featured in Justice League. Ah! And it's like, wow. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I mean, I thought they would not do it because you guys heard me talk about this before. I thought, well, the Superman theme that John Williams did is for a different character. That's not for this Superman. That's a different character. This Superman has a theme, and it's the Hans Zimmer theme, and the Hans Zimmer theme is amazing. So I said, no, they won't do it. So I started seeing all these tweets, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, they did it. That's why you never say never. But then I started looking into it. And I got all these people writing me, John, the John Williams theme is going to be in it. And questions like this one, Matthew, where you're writing, oh, shouldn't they keep the Hans Zimmer theme? Let's look at what Danny Elfman really said, okay? I think everybody's getting, you know what? We all do this. I do it. You do it. We all do this sometimes, okay? Nobody's fault here. We get carried away. We say a headline and we get carried away and we don't actually look into the details of the headline. We all do it. It's what film fans do, right? But let's look at what Danny Elfman actually said, okay? Here's what Danny Elfman actually said. Danny Elfman said, I also had 2 minutes where I had the pleasure of saying, let's do John Williams' Superman. And for me, that was heaven. Okay, so the problem is, everybody, just that first part, where, Danny Elfman says, let's do John Williams' Superman theme. And that's where everybody stops. Everybody stops there. Let's keep reading what he actually said before we start saying they're replacing Hans Zimmer's theme, okay? Let's do John Williams' Superman. And that for me was heaven, because now I have a melody to twist. And I'm using it in an actually very dark way, in a dark moment. It's the kind of thing that some fans will notice and some fans won't. It's a moment where we're really not sure whose side he's on. What that quote tells me very clearly is that there's not going to be this moment in the movie where Superman comes back, hovers over all the trouble, and you hear ba 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 ba, like the John Williams Superman theme, right? That's not what Danny Elfman said is happening. Read that part again. He says, I've got a melody to twist, and I'm using it in a very dark way. It's the kind of thing, this is the big part, some fans will notice, and some fans won't. What Elfman is saying is, yeah, he's going to take that John Williams theme, but he's going to twist it so much, Elfman doesn't even think some people are even going to recognize that it's the John Williams theme. And I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and apparently it happens in one moment in the film that's very dark, and there's probably going to be a few of the notes that he puts in there, bum, 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 and blah, blah, and to the point that Elfman says some fans will recognize what's in there, some fans won't. But what the perception out there right now is that Elfman's using John Williams' score. We're going to go into Justice League when Superman shows up. Ba, 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 ba. And it's like, that's not what Danny Elfman said. Danny Elfman said, I'm going to take it, I'm going to twist it, I'm going to make it dark, and some fans will recognize that it's in there, some fans won't recognize it. And that's perfectly fine. That's great. I think that's wonderful to use that. I think that's a cool little wink of the eye and nod of the head of the audience. But spread the word, everybody, that Justice League is not going to have this big triumphant, at least according to this quote from Danny Elfman, and maybe they change their mind between now and when the movie comes out. Anything is possible, right? But spread the word when you start seeing people saying the Superman theme in Justice League is going to be the John Williams Superman theme. Twist it. It's going to be dark. Kind of thing that some fans will notice and some fans won't. So no, we're not going to see Superman pop up and the big John Williams triumph thing go up in the air about it. That is not what Danny Elfman said. So if you see people talking about getting excited about that, temper them saying, well, actually what Danny Elfman said was he was going to take the John Williams score, he's going to twist it, make it dark, and then present it in one moment in the film where some fans will recognize it, some fans won't. That's what's happening. So if you're in comment sections, whatever, and you're in a chat board and you see that going on, just caution people about that so there's not these false expectations. So what I don't want to have happen is that Justice League comes out, and then people come out whining and complaining saying, they said the John Williams score would be in there and it wasn't there. They never said the John Williams score would be there. They said he said he was going to take it and he was going to use it. There are going to be elements there, but he's going to twist it, make it dark, and some would recognize it, some wouldn't. So let's just get our expectations in order, okay? Because there are already enough people looking for reasons to complain about this movie. And hey, DC has done it to themselves. That's fair. But there's already enough people just looking for reasons to complain. Let's not give them more false reasons to complain, okay? Anyway, that's just a way. Jump into the comments section. Let me know what you guys think about all that. All right, let's move on to the next topic today. And I want to remind you once again, in a few minutes here, I'm going to be taking the live Twitter questions. So start tweeting in your questions. Start getting ready for that. All right, we go on to the next question. The next question, also staying on the topic of Justice League. One of my Patreon supporters, Jeremiah Sneed, writes, "Hey, John, love your videos. My question is, do you think with Justice League marketing about to swing into high gear that we will see Superman in either a final Justice League trailer, Justice League TV spot, or not until the movie opens?" Thanks a lot for the question, Jermaine. And hey, guys, want to take this opportunity. Jermaine is one of my Patreon supporters. My Patreon supporters are the people that make this show possible because I left the corporate overlords. I no longer work for corporate bosses. I decided to do this all on my own. And it's difficult to make things on your own all the time and working full time at it. My Patreon supporters are the ones who make it worthwhile and make it able to do in the first place. We have audio only editions of this show, the John Campea Podcast, and Star Wars Talk Tuesday. We have Patreon supporter exclusive podcasts. We have an exclusive Facebook group. We do live chats. We do all types of things. Do me a favor, check out, if you like my show, please check out patreon.com/John Campea. Get more information there and then see if you actually enjoy this content. Maybe you want to become a supporter of the content. If you do, awesome. Thank you so much. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I'm just happy you guys are here watching the shows. Okay, now let's get on to this question now. Now, I had been wondering, remember I brought this question. I said, look, Justice League is probably going to hit its release date. If I had to put money on it, I'd put money on Justice League hitting its release date. But, I mean, whereas like Thor, which only comes out 2 weeks earlier, already has multiple trailers, TV spots, advanced tickets already on sale. Justice League had none of that. No advanced tickets yet. No more spots after the Comic-Con spot. And, the post-production they're still not wrapped. They're not wrapped, which is great. Me, I've said this all 100 times. That's good news because Warner Brothers is not saying good enough. Warner Brothers is saying, put everything we've got into this movie to make it the best movie we can be. And if that means work until midnight the night before the movie opens, work on it till the night before the movie opens. And I think that should reassure fans a lot that Warner Brothers is this committed to this movie. Okay, that aside though, the question did come up before, and then about 48 hours, or not 48 hours, like 4 to 8 hours later, some brand new promo spots dropped. It's like, okay, so I think that can assure a lot of us it does look like Warner Brothers is going to hit that release date. Great. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we can probably expect, because we are now getting very close. We are less than 2 months away from this movie opening. Still no advance tickets, still no, other than those little spots here, that is still no real new marketing. I think you're right. We can expect Justice League to go heavy into marketing here pretty soon. So the question everybody's asking is, will they have Superman in those marketing pushes? And should they have Superman in those marketing pushes? I think, I got nothing to base this on, by the way. This is just my fan speculation, okay? I think the answer to both of those questions is yes. I think Superman will be in the promo spots. I believe they should put him in the promo spots as well. Now, some people will go, well, then you're ruining the surprise. God, everybody knows Superman's coming back. The end of Batman vs. Superman made that very clear, okay? The first trailer made it clear. Like everybody, you're not just talking about Superman because he ain't coming back. Henry Cavill's tweeting about him in the movie. We've seen pictures of Henry Cavill on set. Everybody knows Superman's coming back. Putting that in a trailer is not spoiling squat for anybody. Now, you don't want to give away the nature in which he returns. I'm sure there are some things you're going to want to keep close to the vest. Absolutely, I agree with that, 100%. But Henry Cavill is a great Superman. Superman is a great character. Superman is one of the draws for this film. And if you're marketing, if I'm the head of the marketing team for this movie, I am insisting we have to have at least some Superman in there. You want to get as many butts in the seats as possible. You don't completely hide one of your major characters. And we're talking, it's Batman and Superman, dude. Batman and Superman. You don't hide that Batman's in the movie. You don't hide that Superman's in the movie. You find the right way that doesn't tip your hand too much about the nature of his return or too much, but you do put it in. So I am expecting, it might be late in the game, but I am expecting we will see Superman in there. And I 100% believe they should put Superman in there. We can't look at this as the hardcore fans. Because yes, as the hardcore fans, we're already going to go see it, right? So we don't need it. And we may not even want to see Superman in those trailers because we're already 100% in. But studios and marketing people can't worry about us, the 5%. They got to worry about the 95% of people out there who don't think the same way we do. So if you're in charge of that marketing department, damn right, you put Superman in that marketing. You got to. You just have to. And that's just my opinion. Maybe you guys have a different thought. I can have my mind changed. Jump into the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, last question of the day before I go to the live Twitter questions. Once again, guys, you can start sending your Twitters. Just tweet me at John Campea. Start sending in those tweets, and I'll get to those in just a second. But right now, the last question comes to us from Richard H. And Richard H. writes, curious observation. Why are all movies in theaters right now rated R? Went to a theater the other day, and literally the only thing that wasn't rated R was Lego Ninjago. Not a huge issue for me personally, but me and some family members just got our movie passes, and there's nothing we can watch together for the past couple of weeks. Is this an odd thing, or is it just my first time noticing it? Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And you know what? Let me bring up the actual list, because you're right. Now that I think about it, they all are rated R. Let's see. Got American Made rated R, It rated R, Kingsman rated R, then, of course, Lego Ninjago movie, Flatliners R. I can't remember if Battle of the Sexes is rated R or not. American Assassin R. Okay, so yeah, almost all the movies out right now are rated R. Why is that the case? Well, I'm only speculating here a little bit because you remember I used to work for AMC Theaters. I used to run all their stuff, YouTube, online media things. And, one of the things was, remember, we're now past all the kiddies are back in school now, right? They're all back in school. And now we're in September, October. This is when the kids are back in school. This is probably the time that the least amount of families are running out to go see films together. The kids are fresh back in school. They're going to get used to school, whatever. So they figure the demographic going to see the movies more right now is probably adults. This is a good time to put out the R-rated films. Because right now, those parents aren't clamoring to find movies they can take their kids to. If a parent's going to go out to see a movie, like during the summer, if a parent's going to go out to see a movie and an adult is a parent, then many times they're probably going to look for something they can also take their kids to. Once school gets back in, you're dealing with school nights and all that kind of stuff. Parents, this is probably the time of year that parents feel a little bit more free. Adults feel a little bit more free that they can get out on their own and go watch a movie themselves. And so this is a good time to put out R-rated films. Now, I don't think that's a rule or anything like that. I think it's just the calendar makes sense for why they do something like that. I think that's the same reason why you don't see a ton of R-rated material. I mean, some, yes, but you don't see a ton of R-rated material during the Christmas season. You don't see a ton of R-rated material during the summer season because that's a time when families can go out and see films together. Those are better times. September, October, better time for the R-rated stuff. And I'm sure there's a million other variables that go into it as well. That's just one that really stands out to me. All right, guys. Well, with that out of the way, we're going to go over to Twitter now, and I'm going to take the live tweets that you guys have been sending in to me. So let me bring up my Twitter board here, if I can get my handle on it here. And let's see. Let's start with this one. Outside Gamer, going to bring this up here. Outside Gamer writes, John, what is your favorite horror movie? Well, I've mentioned this a few times. My all-time favorite horror movie is that 80s horror movie, American Werewolf in London. Not to be confused with the reboot sequel film that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, American Werewolf in Paris. Not that one. American Werewolf in London, to me, is still a movie that terrifies the hell out of me. And no horror movies really scare me. Very, very, very few horror movies actually scare me. American Werewolf in London is still a movie that I cannot watch with the lights off in the middle of the night. If it's on TV in the middle of the night, it comes on, I got to have a light on. I mean, that's just one of them. And the second one is The Descent. I've talked about those two a lot. So American Werewolf in London and The Descent. Okay, let's go on to another one right here. This one comes to us from Nick Van Gogh 32. I like that name. That's a good name. Writes, John, most anticipated movie other than the Star Wars or comic book coming for the rest of the year? I get asked that question a lot. I'm still going to stick with Murder on the Orient Express. You got Kenneth Branagh in there. That's pretty much enough for me. You got Kenneth Branagh in there, then that's good enough for me. I think Murder on the Orient Express really has potential to do a lot of good things. I can't wait to see it. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. That isn't a comic book movie and not called Star Wars. All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next one comes from Nguyen Daan 6, writes, "Hey, John, do you think the Elseworld Joker movie is how WB introduces multiverse to the audience?" No. Look, I get this question. Here's the thing. Nobody, and I mean nobody, outside of comic book fans, and remember, we represent the 5%, not the 95%. Nobody is asking for a multiverse. Nobody. Nobody in the movie universe. Quite honestly, I find multiverse, the whole notion of multiverse, a little bit silly. Actually, you know what? In the early 2000s, there was a big period of time where I just ditched comics because there were so many alternate timelines, so many multiverse things, so much that, and everything was just like, you know what? I give up. I give up. And that was around the time when they started making, like, if you really want to be able to follow the story you're reading, you can't just buy this comic. You have to buy this title and this title and this title and this title. You got to be buying these 6 titles each month if you want to be able to properly follow the storyline. I'm like, oh. So there was a period of time, about 3 or 4 years, I was just like, you know what? Enough. And I just honestly think the average film fan does not want it. And I think Warner Brothers is going to cater to the average film fan. Now, you can have an Elseworlds thing and have like a one-shot Elseworlds thing, but I do not think, because I'm seeing a lot of comic book fans, and I get this. They're saying, oh, DC or Marvel, like either one of them, are going to set up where they have Earth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're going to have a version of this and a version of that and a version of this. You know what? That's going to alienate most of the movie-going audience. As comic book fans, that's tough for us to wrap our head around, but like, I often go back to my mom. My mom, the average film goer. My mom loves movies. The average film goer. You start doing all that, you've lost her. She's going to check out. And I think there's a big difference between that and the occasional one-shot Elseworld kind of thing. I think there's a major difference. So, no, I mean, again, anything is possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you bet your life savings on the fact that they're never going to do a multiverse. I would not say that. But I would really be shocked if they did, because I think they know they run the risk of alienating the average movie-going audience. They might really make the 5% of us really happy, but if you just aim to please the 5% of us, you're going to go out of business really fast. So no, I do not think that this is going to be their, honestly, I don't think this is going to be their way to introduce a multiverse. I really don't think it is. And no, I do not think at all that, despite what Ezra Miller once jokingly said in an interview, I do not think at all they're ever going to say that the CW Arrow and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, that's going to be in a multiverse with the movie. No, it's not. No, it's not. Again, anything can happen, but I would be shocked. I'd be totally shocked. I do not think it's going to do, because that is not what the majority of the film-going audience wants to see. Just my thought. You guys might have a different opinion. Totally cool. All right, let's move on to the next tweet. And the next tweet today comes to us from Austin, Maine, who writes, "John, do you think we will see any Force ghosts in The Last Jedi? Kenobi, Yoda, Anakin, Jar Jar?" That's a big question that comes up a lot when I'm having Star Wars discussions with friends of mine. Are there Force ghosts going to pop up? I have seen nothing that suggests that they will. And so I'm going to guess no. However, it's not a real convinced no. It's not a no with conviction. It's a no, but I'm not going to fall out of my seat with surprise if they do. I mean, you know what? Liam Neeson did a special video message to the fans at Star Wars Celebration. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. But hey, maybe he's back in the fold a little bit. Maybe we'll see a little Liam Neeson. Liam Hemsworth would be a totally different scenario. Maybe we'll see a little bit of Liam Neeson in there doing a little Force Ghost stuff. Maybe we see some Ewan McGregor doing some Force Ghost stuff. Maybe that paves the way for the Obi-Wan movies. I don't know. It's possible. But my guess, and again, it's just my guess, it would be no. I would think the answer is no. All right, let's bring up the next tweet. And the next tweet is from TommyMo35, who writes, "It's a weird choice for me that in Kingsman 2, Pedro Pascal is a main character instead of Channing Tatum. What do you think?" Well, I've talked about this a lot. I mean, one of my kind of peeves with not the movie Kingsman, but the overall project Kingsman 2 has been that their marketing put Channing Tatum on everything. And I remember this one big billboard down by the AMC Century City, one of the busiest movie theaters in the world. And this huge billboard, and it wasn't Taron Egerton right in the middle. It was Channing Tatum was the middle character right in the middle, and you had Harry, and you had Eggsy, and then you had Merlin, and you had Jeff Bridges, and then you had, they had different characters. No Pedro Pascal, by the way. But in everything, Channing Tatum was in every trailer. He's on every poster that's not a character-only poster. He's on everything, and he's in like 5 minutes of the movie. He's there, and then he's gone. And Pedro Pascal, from Game of Thrones, from Narcos, Pedro Pascal is, I would suggest, is the third main character of the film. Eggsy, Harry, Pedro Pascal, Whiskey. Whiskey was the third biggest character in that film, and he wasn't there at all. And yeah, that is something that has not sat right with me. Okay, let's go on to the next Twitter question. And this one comes from Thinker Foreign. Writes, hey, John Campea, what is your most anticipated moment in Justice League? Oh, it's the return of Superman. Like, you all know what I think of Man of Steel and how much I love Henry Cavill as Superman. It is, I don't know what they have planned. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I think the return of Superman is the thing that I am looking forward to absolutely the most. Let's see. The next one comes from, you guys want to talk a lot about Justice League. Okay. Odinsaur 2 writes, John, do you think Warner Brothers should release a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League? It just seems like Whedon's changing enough to warrant it. No, absolutely not. No. You don't make a movie and then, in your eyes, improve the movie and then put out a totally separate movie to divide your audience even more. Absolutely not. Look, Joss Whedon has made clearly, and it's obvious, he's made some significant changes. But that doesn't mean he's changed everything. This, in my mind, I know a lot of people want to argue, no, it's still just a Zack Snyder movie. Yeah, guess what? I'm sorry to break it to you. No, it's not. But then there are some other people going, no, now it's a Joss Whedon movie. No, he didn't have time to do that. I'm totally of the belief that this is going to be a Zack Snyder and a Joss Whedon film. And that excites me. You've heard me say this before. That excites me. The idea of bringing the best of Zack Snyder, this great visual storyteller, combining that with the strengths of a Joss Whedon, character and dialogue, you put those things together, I think you're going to have something really good. But what you do not do is now divide your audience even more. You don't create a civil war within your own fandom and get people going, oh, the Zack Snyder version was better. Oh, no, the Joss Whedon version was better. You don't start a civil war for no reason. You put out the best movie that you think you have, and you do not go back and put out, oh, now we're just going to release an earlier cut that we didn't like as much. No, I mean, the extended version was a little bit different because that was an issue of time constraint. That wasn't for them an issue of quality. They didn't believe, the Zack Snyder's long cut of the movie isn't quality enough. No, they just thought it creates too many practical problems with the length of the film. We need to shorten it up. So they put out an extended cut. I understand that. That's perfectly fine. But you don't put together what you think is your best cut of the movie and then put out what you think is your not as good of a cut of the movie just for the sake of doing it, because you're going to cause problems within your own fandom. So I don't think they should. Not at all. Let's see. Ali writes, John Campea, what do you think about Zack Snyder saying that Batfleck is the best Batman? Do you agree? Everybody knows I think that. Everybody knows I think that. And I've taken some criticism from people who say, I hate Ben Affleck as Batman. It gets me frustrated because you know what? And if you're one of those people, when all you fake, lazy, bandwagon fans who now say you like Ben Affleck as Batman, you're BSing yourself and you're BSing the world. Because I remember very clearly, I remember very sharply when they announced, and it just drives me crazy seeing some of these zealot blind zombie DC fanboys pretending and being bandwagon, pretending like they've been on board with Ben Affleck the whole time. No, you weren't. I remember. We all remember. When they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, everybody lamented and sighed when they were DC fans. And if they were Marvel fans, they were laughing and whatever and mocking DC and all that kind of stuff. And I was one of the only guys who put up a video that day. It's still up. The day they announced it. And I said, genius. Ben Affleck is awesome. He's going to give us an awesome Batman. So I've believed, and when I saw him in Batman vs. Superman, the movie has its problems, sure. But that incarnation, that representation of Batman to me is the best Batman we've ever had, due in large part to the way that Ben Affleck performed it. Ben Affleck is, to me now, he is my definitive Batman. That's great. I've got no problem with anybody else saying Christian Bale is their definitive Batman. Absolutely, The Dark Knight was a better movie than Batman versus Superman. I'm not saying which movie was better than which. I'm just saying, in my opinion, Ben Affleck just embodied Batman better than anybody else ever has. And I think he exuded Batman better than anybody else ever has. And he's the guy. So yeah, Zack Snyder believes Ben Affleck is the best Batman we've ever had. I'm in total agreement with him. But I have no quarrel, and I have no argument, and I have no fight with anybody who disagrees with that, because look at the Batman we've had. We've had the Christian Bale Batman. We've had the Michael Keaton Batman. We got the Adam West Batman. Maybe you're a fan of the animated Batman. We've had some great Batman. So I've got no fight with anybody who doesn't agree with me. That's totally fine. Just as a fan of Ben Affleck and as a fan of Batman, I think Ben's Batman incarnation is the best we ever had, which makes me all the more depressed that he's not going to be Batman for too much longer. Anyway, and that will do it for me, guys, for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, guys, going to bring this up a lot because we have made a change. From now on, if you want to email in a question or a topic to be on the John Campea Show, now the email address is john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's the new email address, john@thejohncampeashow.com. And please make sure to put the word topic in the subject line. If you don't put the word topic in the subject line, I ain't gonna see it. Also, one more time, guys, please consider going over to patreon.com/John Campea if you enjoy this programming and want to be one of the people that makes sure this programming is able to continue. Go check that out. That would be wonderful. So that will do it for me for this round, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. I've got another video or two coming up later today. And of course, the John Campea Show will be back on again tomorrow on Sunday. And thank you, special thanks to you guys who were watching live. We had nearly 1,000 of you guys in there. Thank you so much for watching live and tuning in and being here and keeping the conversation going. Remember, guys, when you're in the comment section, we're all film fans. Like, I hate the prequels. I've got friends who love the prequels. I love Star Wars. I got friends who hate Star Wars. It's okay for us to debate and discuss and all that kind of stuff, but let's remember, we're all on the same side. We're all movie fans. We're all film fans. And we're all going to like different things. So let's remember that. And let's be civil to each other when we're debating and having our arguments in the comment sections, because that's one of the most fun things about being a film fan. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for joining me. And until next time, bye-bye.